now will be calling upon my colleague, Dr. Sujata K. Bhatia. Sujata is going to be our guest commencement speaker. She is a physician, a bioengineer, a textbook author, and a professionally licensed chemical engineer who serves on the teaching faculty of biomedical engineering at Harvard University. But there's more. She's the assistant director for undergraduate studies in biomedical engineering at Harvard. Thus, she is the academic advisor for all Harvard undergraduate students in bioengineering and biomedical engineering, and she also serves as a thesis director in the ALM and biotechnology program. Her main research interests, one of her main research interests, I should say, is in tissue engineering and its clinical applications. In other words, the science behind repairing and regenerating tissues injured by trauma or by chronic disease. Sujata has also been appointed an assistant dean at the Harvard Summer School, and in this capacity, she supervises the academic progress and the well-being of several hundred undergraduates each summer. She also serves on the Summer School's Dean Council. She's an associate of the Harvard Kennedy School of Government for the Science, Technology, and Globalization Project. She works with students on projects for medical innovation in Africa, as well as global engineering education. She's additionally a faculty member in the Harvard Kennedy School Executive Education Program on Innovation for Economic Development. She has established a positive reputation nationally and internationally and has won numerous awards in recognition of her professional accomplishments and her community outreach efforts. She has served on panels and committees for the National Academy of Engineering, for the National Academy of Sciences, for the National Science Foundation, the Institute of Medicine, American Association for the Advancement of Science, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the United States Department of State. Sujata has personally mentored several Harvard students, including extension school students, to complete innovative research design projects that advance the field of bioengineering. And she has demonstrated a strong commitment not only to biomedical engineering research and international development, but also to education, to community outreach, and to student life. And let me mention one more thing I just couldn't resist. Dr. Bhatia just returned from the White House just last night, where she participated in a ceremony that honored the great diversity of immigrant entrepreneurs and innovators in the United States. Bhatia.
Thank you to Dean Leitner, to the program directors, to the distinguished faculty, and to the students for the invitation to speak at this commencement ceremony. I'm truly honored to address students receiving advanced degrees and certificates in biotechnology, educational technologies, information technology, math for teaching, and sustainability and environmental management, as well as the friends and the families of these graduating students. I wish to begin by asking you to reflect on a few questions. Who can be a student at Harvard? What does a student at Harvard look like? Do you have to be a Kennedy or a Rockefeller? One of the joys of my work with both undergraduate students at Harvard College and graduate students in the Harvard Division of Continuing Education is the realization that there is no stereotype for a student on the Harvard campus. The students in this audience are proof that anyone can be a student at Harvard if you are simply willing to work hard. Yet, at some point during your education, you probably wondered whether you would ever finish this degree. You may have felt very lonely. You wondered whether there was a place for you in this university or in any university, much less in this world. You questioned your decision to pursue further education. You felt non-traditional and unconventional, perhaps like an outsider. I want to tell you something. You are not alone. Every successful person has, at some point, felt like an outsider. I mentioned the Kennedys and Rockefellers earlier on. John F. Kennedy had to overcome his youth, his seeming lack of experience, and prejudices against his Catholic faith to become a U.S. president. John D. Rockefeller was the son of a poor traveling salesman. His father was rarely home. Rockefeller, too, had an unconventional background, yet became a smashing success. Consider a more recent example, the athlete Michelle Kwan, daughter of parents who worked long hours in a Chinese restaurant to be able to buy her figure skates. Michelle Kwan's first pair of custom skates was secondhand. Another girl's name had been scratched off and Michelle's name had been written on top. Yet she went on to become the most decorated figure skater in U.S. history. To draw on yet another example from the world of sports, consider the baseball coach Billy Beane. His unconventional Moneyball approach to scouting and drafting was initially ridiculed. That is, until his Oakland Athletics had the longest winning streak in American League Baseball history. In fact, Billy Beane was successful precisely because he recruited unconventional players whom other coaches had overlooked. I myself am an unconventional Harvard faculty member, having spent 8 years in industry, working in biotechnology at DuPont prior to joining Harvard University. Show me any individual who has achieved extraordinary success, and I will show you someone who has been an outsider. What makes the outsider with the unconventional approach so powerful? These mavericks bring a fresh perspective, looking at problems in a new way. Outsiders also recognize the value of new opportunities. They make the most of every chance to succeed. They remain grounded, much like the students in this audience. Most importantly, outsiders are hungry. They're eager to reach the next level of achievement. They celebrate their successes, as we are today, but not too long before moving on to the next goal. Within each and every one of you is the power to change the world. And this is doubly true because you are each unconventional. In order to translate your unique individual background, your unconventional perspective, into world-changing results, you must believe. You must believe in 3 things. First, believe in yourself and really mean it. Let me say that again. Believe in yourself and really mean it. Believing in yourself means that you believe in your ideas and your ideals. When Louis Pasteur advanced the germ theory of disease, he was questioned by other scientists, but he went on to develop the rabies vaccine. Believing in yourself also means that you have faith in your ability to overcome adversity. I'd like to share a few personal examples to illustrate the power of belief. When I began my first real job at DuPont in biotechnology, I had just finished graduate school. I spoke to my dad prior to going to work on my first day. He said, "I'm not feeling well, but have a great first day of work." 2 weeks later, we learned that he had kidney cancer. Several months later, my mother was also diagnosed with cancer. Hers was multiple myeloma. And my father suffered a heart attack due to stress. This all happened in the first 2 years of my professional career. It was a challenging time for the family, acting as my parents' primary caregiver. Yet I maintained my family responsibilities and my job in biotechnology and biomaterials at DuPont because I believed in the importance of my work in biomaterials and medical devices, but more significantly, I believed in myself and my family and our ability to withstand tough times. We all did survive thanks to advances in medicines and medical devices. Some of these advances are going to be developed by the students in this audience in the future. My twisting path eventually led me to a faculty position at Harvard. Believe in yourself, first and foremost. Second, believe in the validity and the beauty of your dreams. Whether you want to run your own laboratory, start your own website, found your own company, initiate a new movement, perhaps an environmental movement, lead a university, or write your own new textbook, you must believe that your vision will lead to wondrous things. When you believe in your dream, you are willing to work for it, as every student in this audience demonstrates. One reason that continuing education students hold a special place in my heart is that my own mother is the result of adult continuing education. When I was a child, she earned a master's in education at night while substitute teaching during the day because she believed in her dream of becoming a certified math teacher in the public schools. At the same time, my father would often stay awake in the wee hours of the night, working on process designs for chemical engineering for his job. As a young child, I watched them both. I watched my mother work during the day and go to school at night. I watched my father do extra work at night. And I learned, this is what hard work looks like. This is what sacrifice looks like. When you believe in your dream, you are willing to keep trying until you succeed. I have another personal example. A few years ago, in 2011, was when I made the decision to transition from industry to academia, from DuPont to Harvard. Prior to interviewing at Harvard, there were universities who turned me down as a result of my unconventional background. I had spent 8 years in industry, working on product development, clinical trials, and patenting and intellectual property. But I learned from each rejection, and I remained determined to find a place in academia because I knew that I had something to contribute to education. I applied for a faculty position at Harvard, and I used the learnings from my previous interviews to really ace my interview visit at Harvard by emphasizing the strengths of my unconventional background. Believe in your dreams. Finally, believe in the value of your education. And I mean this most of all because of the unique training of the students in this audience. You have gained incredible skills in science and technology, which can drive economic growth and global development. Currently, scientists and engineers make up only 4% of the nation's workforce. Yet, science and engineering account for up to 85% of economic growth, up to 85% of the growth in GDP, according to the American Association for the Advancement of Science. We live in an information age, in a knowledge economy, and you are the knowledge workers. Believe in your education and its transformative power. It will transform both you from within and the world around you from without. Your unconventional path, combined with your unwavering belief and commitment, will lead you down to a path to success that will be greater than any of us can predict. You will surprise yourself, I guarantee that. And you will have a future that is beyond your wildest dreams. I have certainly surprised myself in my own career path. Once you have begun to achieve that unconventional, unpredictable, great success, there is one more thing you need to do, and that is to teach and mentor others. You must help others to find their own unique, unconventional pathways to greatness. You must help others to believe in themselves and to believe and achieve their dreams. There is no better feeling in the world. As a physician, bioengineer, and university administrator, I can choose to spend my time in the hospital, in the laboratory, or in the office. Yet in all facets of my work, I choose to incorporate students. I want to share one last story with you to demonstrate the power of teaching and mentoring. Within my first month at Harvard in June 2011, an African female student named Mureji Fatunde approached me with a novel idea for a senior thesis in biomedical engineering. She wanted to study biomedical materials in the developing world. My previous experience had been in biotechnology and biomaterials, but I had never done any work in Africa or other developing nations. She told me that she couldn't find another faculty member who had sufficient experience or time to mentor her on this particular project, and she asked me to serve as her senior thesis mentor. Though I didn't know what to expect, I agreed, out of a sense of duty to Mureji. Her thesis work with me was so successful that it was noticed by the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. As a result, I was invited to lecture at the Kennedy School and eventually appointed as an associate of the Science, Technology, and Globalization program. Because I had mentored Mureji, this African female student, I met a well-known Kennedy School professor named Calestous Juma, a well-established professor who in turn agreed to mentor me. Because I met Calestous Juma, he nominated me to work with the U.S. Department of State. on initiatives to involve more women in science and technology. Because I worked with the U.S. Department of State, the U.S. government began to notice my contributions. Yesterday, as Dean Leitner mentioned, I was invited to the White House for a special celebration of immigrant entrepreneurs and innovators. But none of that would have happened without Mureji Fatunde at the beginning. I received a White House invitation, all because I was willing to keep my door open to a student with an unconventional idea and an unconventional approach. I want to share one last secret with you in closing. If I told you that I had a crystal ball, and every time I looked into that crystal ball, I could see the beauty and the wonder of the future, I bet you would want to look into it too. In fact, I think you might find it to be addictive. Here's the secret. Every time I look into the eyes of a student, I can see that crystal ball, and I am addicted to it. I see it in the eyes of my master's student in biotechnology, Sunny Seetharam, who studied naturally derived materials for wound closure. Sunny is not only graduating today, but he was also selected as a class marshal to lead the procession. Look into the eyes of your future students, and you will see the wonder and beauty of inspiration, invention, and innovation. Look into the eyes of your students, and you will see the future. So, what does a student on the Harvard campus look like? It can be anyone who is willing to work hard and to learn. What does a faculty member on the Harvard campus look like? I never thought it would be me, yet here I am, not only a faculty member, but also bestowed with the honor of serving as your commencement speaker. What does a graduate on the Harvard campus look like? It looks like each of you. Congratulations.
All right, well, as many of you may have noticed if you are looking at your program, in my excitement, I went a bit out of order introducing Sujata before we finished up with the awards and prizes part of our program. So let us return. I'm going to call upon Dr. Andy Engelward, who will present the Petra T. Shattuck Excellence in Teaching Award.